Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer one comment just now because I don't quite have a huge amount of time. And then if I do some other ones at some point, maybe tomorrow or something, then I'll edit them together. So Mary Rose Mitchell asks, is there any sense that there is some source energetically that knows what can't be known? The stories we create when we look back on events in our lives are obviously just stories, such as, if that didn't happen, then this couldn't have happened, etc. Clearly that is dependent upon time, space, and a person doing or not doing something, and yet, appearances appear to appear, such as sitting in a car, words being spoken. Is there any sense that there is a harmony between the wilderness, beneath the wilderness? Is it so obvious there that there is nothing happening, or is it that unknown there? I guess this is just climbing through the bathroom window or a back door of me wanting to know. So yeah, you seem to have come full circle and then answered your own question. So I get the sense from that there's this wanting to know, and then even in the time that it took to write this comment, there is a realization or a recognition that this is a kind of a wanting to know. Is a complexification of, if that's a word, of what's obvious, what's simple, what's non-dual, what's here. So you don't need to go there, you don't need to know that, you don't need to think about it. This is, like you said, an attempt at a conceptual understanding, an attempt to reifying something that's not simply what's here, that's not simply this. And what's simply here, what's simply this, isn't something that you can capture in a concept or a position, such as a universal source or something knowing the unknown, unknowable, something separate from, something other than. So you've answered your own question there, and I guess the realization from that, the recognition that comes from that, is that you don't need to think about that. It's an attempt to reify something that's just that isn't this, a something else, something that's not this, something that's not simply what is here, what's obvious already. An attempt to contextualize or take a position on what would be a limited understanding of what is, and what is you can't explain. You just can't talk about it, you can't think about it in that sense. And it doesn't need to be, because any answer that we're going to derive from an explanation, a concept about it, is overwhelmed by the simplicity and the beauty and the unknowability of this. So to give you something more satisfying, because that's so vague and unsatisfying, and that's kind of the point, but it knows itself. If this is something, it knows itself, it's aware of itself inherently to a degree that's impossible to even comprehend from the point of view of any finite position or any frame of reference or view, any view. So you answered your own question, just let go of it, just let go, and just keep letting go, and keep, as soon as that, there's an energetic signature to that which you started in that comment, that need to understand. There's, let's say, again, this is just the story, but there's an energetic signature that can be felt from that. What does that feel like at the start of that comment? And then when you go on to say, this is a backdoor way of me wanting to know, if I say yes, that's true, what does that feel like? And just to let go and come back to this, simply as it is. It's freeing, isn't it? And then that need to know is binding, isn't it? So that getting in touch with that movement, that signature, that feeling of that is what's important. And then it's just clear seeing. As soon as you see that tendency to move back into concepts in the mind, a mental or mind-based understanding, as soon as that's seen, let go, and then there's a gap there, of clarity that's inherently here anyway, and it was actually always there. It just seemed to be obscured by the wanting to know. So these things aren't really clear to us until we let go of them, until it becomes the obstructions aren't really clear to us until we drop them and we see it clearly. Then what was happening is clear. Like from here, I can clearly see that as and it's obvious to me as an attempt to grasp at a position or a view of something about the way it is, which is a thought, which is a formation of a belief. Not in the sense of I adopt another concept about it or belief about it. I know that might be the way I'm talking, but it's just clear that that's what's happening there. And it seems like it's also in a way clear to you. And you can see it happening. You can see that viewpoint, that belief forming. Other people who might be listening to this or see or hear me read that comment, it might be clear to you that yes, that's obviously a position being formed. That's a psychological or conceptual understanding, a mind-based understanding, a position, a view, a concept. But I'll ask anyone else who's listening to this, it might be clear to you that that is a formation of a thought, I need to know. But what about your own one? What about your own one that you might not be clear on because it's specific to you? That it feels like you, it feels real. What about your own one? Can you look at that? Can you see that forming? Can you see it appearing? Can you see how sticky it is and how convincing it is that you do really need to know, and you are actually going to get it at some point? Because you don't. You don't. It's already here. Relatively, you could say there is a falling away of something, and there are stages to that, and what you're describing here might be a way someone would describe a certain stage of it, but ultimately that doesn't matter because it's so easy to bind on to these beliefs, these viewpoints and positions. So whenever I say positions, I'm talking about a way of viewing reality that isn't just inherently what is already, which can't be talked about. I'll do another one here. So Jala Jabon Him says, my ego mind seems to be resisting fiercely. Silence has been feeling pretty blissful, but still the mind insists on thinking. Thankfully there are gaps now and then. And I would add that it's so tricky in the ways it entices me. Before I know it, I'm hooked until I'm not. So that ties perfectly into the previous comment, and that it knows, I'm reifying it here in language as a thing, and it's not actually a thing, but it knows how to get you, it knows how to entice you, it knows how to, let's say, relatively appear at the right time when there is an emotional charge that makes it seem appropriate to grab onto a belief or a concept or a narrative story. It's all about clarity. It's all about remaining vigilant from no position, paradoxically, and being clear that when this comes up, recognizing, like I said before, the signature of it, what does it feel like? You can see that it's quite repetitive, but it reframes itself in different forms, so to entice you into, poor way of describing it probably, buying in, identifying, making that feel like you, that viewpoint, that belief, that thought is you, or you hold it, so it's synonymous with what you feel like you are. But in these two comments I can clearly see that there's a recognition there. You know, there's a separation from that, so to speak, that it doesn't have the 100% rolling on constant pool of belief, such that it seems like a consistent, long-lasting entity that's real, persists through time, and actually exists. That gap you talked about is I'm gonna like limits the language, is where to rest as yourself and then from there, watch for these positions that come up that suggest that this is me, this is what feels like me. I am a thought entity, or I am an entity that holds or owns thoughts or beliefs or a story in time. But yeah, awesome clarity there. Right, so I am running out of time. I've done 2 there. I'll either post this up or I'll edit these together, and I've got a few more here, like big long ones, so looking forward to getting into them. What I'm going to do is see if you posted a comment and it's sitting there and I've not responded or anything. I'm not ignoring you. What I'll do is I'll leave it there so it doesn't disappear off my feed, and then I'll give it a love heart or whatever to acknowledge that I've responded to it, and I'll tag your name, the names that I can't pronounce, in the comments in the description of the video. So if I'm not responding in text, I'm probably going to respond in the video format. But yeah, just come back to this. Any viewpoint that starts to form, you can just invalidate that by saying it's not one way or the other. It never is. It's not like this, it's not like that. Both and neither. Paradox. Come back to this. Come back to this. It'll get more fierce. Like, I think you described it as fierce. It gets more fierce. It's almost tactical. It is an objective. It's not an entity, but it has an objective quality. It knows how to be tactical. Don't be scared of it though. It's not a thing. Don't resist it. It's not a thing. Just keep looking. Just keep looking. It's like a passive thing. It's not an active combatant thing. It's a passive thing. Just keep noticing, and that releasing, that noticing, removes the power of that apparent objective reality, that apparent narrative with me at the centre of it, and just repeatedly do that. And there is an effort involved, it feels like, in the beginning, but the more you do this, the more you get down to the subtle layers of the feeling beneath it. It seems to be mixed up with the thoughts. It seems to be me. It seems to be reacting to things, even reacting to thoughts appearing, because there is a position taken there, which is a thought that doesn't want the thoughts to be there. It gets too complicated to function in that as something that's trying to seek something else, or a state or whatever. Just release, just keep releasing. The overarching message that I talk about in these videos, that once you get familiar with that function, that energetic signature, it becomes very, very simple. It becomes very simple. It's not a complicated thing. It's not a striving for something. You hear people say it's a pathless path. It's not even a path. It's not even a linear progression. It's a simple noticing, a simple relaxing, and with that, an attentiveness that is accessed when we don't continually buy into the narratives that the mind's throwing up with the little reward here. Here's your reward to buy into this. Come and join the delusion. It has a pull to it. It really has an energetic pull to it. And see, when you start to feel that, you feel that pull before the thing forms, and you can just drop it. You can let go and you can observe it, and let it run. Let it run. Don't try and stop it. Let it run. Just notice it. And as you do this, you'll find that as you allow it, as you let it run, just be clear, see clearly what's happening. It will fall away on its own, and you're not doing it. Anyway, I'll need to go for now, and I'll talk to you next time.